We want to say hello to everybody out there in radio, TV, and internet land. This is a continuation of a series of interviews that we are doing with mayoral candidates. We've interviewed 3 and we've got 3 more, and I'm so happy today to have one of the mayoral candidates for our show. We all know that, this is very important for the progress of our city, for the unity of our city, everything that can make this better. One of my pet peeves is that geographically, we have the best location in the southeast. So, we've got all the components in place for this to be a great city and a city that can move forward and a city that can do well in all areas. So what I want to do with these interviews is give the voters an opportunity to know the candidates and to understand the candidates' positions on several different issues and to make an informed decision. I'm going to say that again. And to make an informed decision, because we need to have the attitude that we want to move the city forward, and we want to move the city forward irrespective of our friends and our cousins and our neighbors and what have you. I think that we need to look at this opportunity objectively. In order to be able to look at it objectively, then we of course need information from which we can make our decision. Today, our interviewee is mayoral candidate David Cousino. Cousino, I'm sorry, I said Cousino. Thank you very much. I call Rickard, so one of these days I'm on, I guess I'll be calling Ellis Elise and just mess it up. But anyway, thank you for the correction. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
And I'm your host, Alex Haversham, and as I said, we have, and I'm sure you get called that a lot.
Oh, yes, many times. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
We have. I get called also. So.
Yeah. If you like me, I've been called worse.
I got it.
But we have mayoral candidate David Cousino, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for allowing me to be on your show.
And thank you for responding. And what we would like to do, we want to have really a casual, meaty conversation.
Okay.
A casual conversation that will impart some information to the community as it relates to where you stand on several different issues relative to the county. However, before we do that, just take 2 or 3 minutes and do a little quick biography of yourself.
Okay. I'm David Cousino, D.C. I was born and raised in Flint, Michigan. I'm the youngest of 6 in the family. I have 3 sisters and 2 brothers. We're pretty well scattered out through the United States where we all live at. My mother is still alive. My father passed away approximately 4 years ago. Mama still drives at the age of 84 years old, and she lives down in Florida, and I visit her at least 5-6 times a year. And I graduated from a college in Columbus, Ohio, Business University as a business management degree. And from there I moved to Macon, Georgia, after my wife had passed away, and I became a jeweler for my sister and brother-in-law. I was at Sharp & Sharp Jewelers, which used to be the old Kessler's Jewelers. And I stayed with them all the way up until '91, and then they sold their business and became full-time missionaries as far as helping out battered and abused women. And they are the founders of Abba House, which is up in Cumming, Georgia, and Perry, Georgia. And from there, I became a professional fundraiser, working with Excalibur Marketing and Associates and Angel Studios. We did fundraisers for volunteer rescue squads and fire departments throughout the state of Georgia and Tennessee and Mississippi. And we would go door to door, knocking on the doors, collecting money for the volunteer fire department.
Wow.
And then we would hand out a coupon for them to get a free family portrait, an 11x14 portrait of the family. And of course, nobody just wants an 11x14 picture of the family or of themselves, so they would always buy more pictures. And that's how our company made the money, was by selling the additional pictures. So the money would go into the fire department, and then we would get the money from them coming in to get the pictures taken.
Oh, wow.
And then from that point, I started working in 1996 as a, what do you call it, just a installer for ADT. And then I got into management with ADT. So now I do management and installing for security systems. But I am an independent contractor now because at that time the industry was going down the hill and kind of put me through the loop. And then I had to get out of those contracts and be able to work on my own. And that's where I'm at today is still working as an independent contractor for different companies as putting in security systems.
Very good, very good. So you have business experience. And
Yes.
A whole lot of experience,
Yes.
really. Fundraising, business, community service, diamonds, and what have you. Well, that's very interesting, and I think it's important that the community is familiar with the background of individuals who are running for mayor. So let's talk a little bit about the issues. And although this is indirectly related, I purport that one of the most important elements and issues with which we need to deal in this community is education. So I want you to address that. That's one of my pet peeves because, I realize the importance of education as it relates to the growth of the entire community, as it relates to the unity, as it relates to the economic progress and social progress and governmental progress, you name it. And it seems to me that education is the backbone of what happens in those areas.
Right. What is happening now is, our current government still has no position, as far as the elected officers of the commission have a say of what goes on for the educational programs. So you have to have an active mayor that will participate into those things, whereas our past mayors still haven't done it, nor has our past county commissioners or anything else. I'm a person that is active. You'll see me in some of the schools. I don't even take the credit of going into the schools. I've been up, I'll say, up to Jimmy Carter School. I've been out to the school that, I can't even, my mind went blank, sorry about that, off of Thomaston Road, the school that sits back inside of there.
Right.
And our church set up the inflatables for the kids. And we have the kids there during their spring break, or what they call their fall fest or spring fest or whatever. And we set up the inflatables. And then we also help out in the classroom. We read books to them, and we set up in the library and just do odds and ends things that the school needs to have as volunteers to come in.
So it seems that, education is something that's very important to you.
Very much so.
And the role of the community in supporting, a public, and private education in our community. So I just wanted to get your position on it because I think you agree by virtue of your activity and your experience and what you do, relative to trying to support the schools and Board of Education, etc. And let's move from that to unity and race. Now we've got all kind of opinions, if you please, as it relates to race. And some people say we do have a race problem, some say we don't have a race problem. But then, I want you to address it, but we need unity in more areas, and I think that's one of the problems, frankly, in our county, in our city, is because there seems to be a vacuum in cohesiveness and togetherness and unity. So address, if you would, what you would do to try to bring the community together.
Well, most people know me. I have blinders on my face. I don't look at color, race, or anything. I know each man has the same color of blood within inside their body. I look from the inside of a person, and that's where I start from. I work from that point. I bring that unity in to each individual to where we can go out into the community and make a difference of the community. When you sit here and you have a high dollar amount that comes in on some of these campaign funds, all they're taking care of is their little clique, their little cliche, their little area. Where does that money come back? To the inner city or the parts that really need the help. And then when they do give the help to that, it's always the scraps of the table or the crumbs off the table. They're not teaching them education. They're not teaching them to be fishermen of the sea. They just throw the crumbs out at them. And I see that in a lot of the volunteer organizations that are out there. We need to really get to the meat of the problem. Get into with the homeless. Get into where the need is. Why are these children not being educated? 90% of it is because their families haven't even had an education. They come home and they ask, Mama, how can you help me? They know nothing about the homework. So this is where the educated people need to step in and say, okay, I will take an extra time out for the after-school program. We'll take extra time out after church to help these people out. We know who they are in this community. We've got to step forward and do that as a responsible person. Not just as a politician to throw crumbs out at them and say, here, go ahead, go eat your food and go home. That's wrong. Our Lord told us to what? Teach them to be fishermen of the sea. And we're not doing that now. We're throwing crumbs at them. And they're taking the money and putting it in their back pockets and benefiting themselves or their little programs and only their programs. And then, like I said, throw the crumbs back to the rest and say, oh, look what I've done. See what a beautiful community is. But you drive out around this community. It is terrible. It has been going downhill for 40 years because we've been supporting and endorsing the same people over and over again and expect to change. We cannot change this community if we put the same people back into this office doing the same things over and over again.
Right. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, interviewing, and I've got the name right now, DC,
There you go.
affectionately known as DC, and formerly known as David Cousino, who is a mayoral candidate for the consolidated government. Well, I mentioned briefly in my introduction that incidentally, this is a continuation of a series of interviews that we're doing with all of the mayoral candidates. And we're going to be discussing four main issues, and Mr. Cousino is the fourth of 6 interviews that we will be doing, and thanks again for coming. I mentioned earlier that, it seems, DC,
That's a lot of people do.
it seems that, we have certain components, if you please, in this community that would suggest that we would be, like I see, in the media, the 50 or the 100 best places to live, and the 50 or the 100, nicest community and friendly communities and growing communities or what have you. Now, based on, some of the things that exist in our community, like geographic location, like water, a lot of people don't know, but we got plenty of water, which is very, very important in attracting industries like colleges and universities. We've got them all over. We have really got them all over. And so, and other components, if you please, that would dictate, a growing and livable community. However, it seems that still remains a vacuum where we are and how we compare and what our growth is and what we're doing. So from an economic perspective, what do you think that we can do, to move this community forward economically?
Number one, industry looks at how people get to and from their jobs and work. How do they actually get their businesses started here in this community? Right now, they go from one place to another place to another place in order to get their licenses and fees and everything taken care of. They don't want to go through all that effort. They want a one-stop place to get in, get out, get their business established. That's the first thing I would try to do to get the businesses here. Second thing is you talked about the water. We have a beautiful river out there, but half the time, you can walk across it. Where's the river? That river has been neglected for many years, and we need to get it dredged out. People laugh at me about that situation, but think about the jobs that would create of getting that river dredged out. You would incorporate the Army Corps of Engineers, new businesses coming in along the riverfront when it gets cleaned up. We would truly have a riverfront city. Take examples from other cities like Chattanooga, all the other riverfront cities.
I think Columbus too.
Columbus too.
Yeah.
You know, this used to be a riverfront city. We used to have, and I'm keep on saying, we used to have the riverboats going up and down. But because of the neglect, because of the profit of the politicians, they wanted to have their hands in the till before anything gets done in the city, instead of allowing it to be to the business entrepreneurs or the business people minded that wanted to grow in the city. They wanted their hands on it first before anything else gets created in this city. And that's why the city is slowly crumbling. And we're going to be a ghost town if we keep putting the same ones back into office. We need the openness of fair bids, fair competitions, no more of this 10%, well, because they live in the city of Macon, they can bid 10% over any other contracts. To me, that is really unfair. They should be able to bid 10% less since they live in this community. And it's been proven that their own people that work in a middle class income is 10% less than the whole surrounding community. But they're getting 10% more in their bids than everybody else, so they're actually increased by 20%. Wake up, Macon. Wake up. We need to have fair competitions on bid in this city so it'll be open to where we'll have other industries coming in this community, working in this community, spending time in our motels and hotels for their workers to come into, and having a new riverfront that's out there, having transportation that will get you to and from your job, not a broken down bus in the middle of the road and then you call up another bus and the guy's late for work and then he gets fired for his job for being late. And it happens every day in this city. So if I'm a businessman, would I want my business in this city if my employees are going to be late? If they don't have their own transportation, they can't rely upon a bus to get them to the job? I'm going to go somewhere else that, can have the transportation for them. So that's the main key. Get the transportation for the people. Get the incentive back to where we can open up fair competition in this community. Not just because you live here. You should take pride if you live here. You should do things almost on a volunteer basis. You should give your heart out to build this city back in. Like the Masons did. They helped this nation get built. Where are our Mason brothers and sisters out here today? Where are they designing our cities back? Where are they cleaning up our cities now? It's sad. Let's wake them up. Let's get them back to mapping out this city. Let them get their compasses back out here. Let's get them back out here and get them motivated to bring this nation to be a great nation that we are, not only our own city. That's what my encouragement is to get the people excited, get them motivated back in there. And that itself will clean up the crime within this city.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that was a direction that I wanted to go into, which is, the crime. I've heard that one of the things that a potential industry considers is what's happening on the front page of the newspaper. Oftentimes, people who are interested in maybe considering Central Georgia for their company or industry or what have you, then they look on the front page, and too often crime is a factor, and other indications of a need for improvement in the quality of life in the community. Now, it's kind of strange in a sense, because we've got many of the components that constitute, influence in the quality of life, like art and theaters and, recreation and those kinds of things. But, although we may have the entities, if you please, that contribute to the quality of life, we don't score very highly on quality of life. And I know that crime is a factor from a negative perspective, but from a positive perspective, only as it relates to there being the institutions there we've got quite, the college community and Mercer football and, the Grand Opera House and
The Douglas
the
Theater.
Douglas Theater and the Tubman
The Tubman
Museum.
Museum,
So we've got some components in place that can contribute significantly to making this a more attractive community. But what should we do? I mean, how can we, bring it to fruition where it really affects our score as it relates to being one of the nicest places in which to live?
When I grew up, and I'm gonna go back,
Go back.
all right, Daddy always told me, if you see that neighbor's lawn needing mowing, go out there and mow it. It's not the government's position to go mow the neighbor's job. That's what I'm doing on September 14th. I'm going out in the Bloomfield area. I've already got a work day, started at 7:30 in the morning. We're gonna go clean up Bloomfield. At first, the city wasn't even gonna get involved. They wanted to charge us for the park. They wanted to charge us for the dumpsters for coming out there. So I said, the heck with the dumpsters and everything else. Web waste removal's coming out there. He's given the dumpsters out there to be put out there. Mercer students are coming out there. I've got several private landscapers that are coming out there. If anybody else is a landscaper, come on out. 7:30 on the 14th, and we're gonna clean up Bloomfield area. If you look on my Facebook page, you'll see what it was. And we're gonna change that. And we're gonna do it by community. And this is by volunteers, not a 5x5 program, as Mayor Worker does or whatever else. That's a good program, don't get me wrong, but he neglects other areas. But the people have got to take pride in their own community to make a difference. And that's what I'm stepping out to do, is to get the people in their own community to take pride and to clean it up. That's when you're gonna see a difference. You could have a 5x5 all you want, tear down all the buildings you want. What's gonna happen? They're gonna still just come right back if you don't take the pride in that community and get other people involved outside community to come in and clean up at the same time. Because that almost puts an embarrassment of the people who live there. Because they're saying, wow, they're out here working in my neighborhood. This is our area. We should be taken care of. And we should have the pride of taking care of our neighborhood. We don't need all these people out here. We can do that. Let's handle that and take care of it. And that's what I want to build back up. It's the pride of the community like we used to have. When somebody came into the neighborhood, probably when you came into your neighborhood, somebody brought you over cakes, donuts, a pie, or whatever it is, welcomed you into the neighborhood. When was the last time you welcomed a new person into your neighborhood? I don't even know if it goes on, except in my neighborhood we do. Bills Hill community, College Corridor community, we do that. We started that program. We're almost an area to where, we're setting examples for other people in the community. And our current leadership tries to take claim of what goes on in that community, and he has never been to one of our meetings. Never been to our meeting.
Take 2 minutes and talk about the Bills Hill because I understand that there are a lot of things going on over there, and just kind of familiarize. Just take a couple of minutes because I think it's important as it relates to the kinds of things that we've been talking about. That's another thing that's existed in our community. So take just a minute.
And that is the community I live in. It's getting aware of the people who live actually in the community, going out door to door, sending out letters, calling them up, telling them when our meetings are at, allowing them to know that, hey, we got something going on. We've got a barbecue going on, we got a cleanup going on into the community, we've got a movie going on in the park, we've got all different stuff going on. We've got, Washington Park, we get involved with that, which is the College Corridor, which is the second Sunday of every month. We get the bands going out there. And, that's what Mercer helps put on, that's what the community helps put on. But where's Westland College? Where's Central Georgia Tech College? Where's all the other colleges? Where's the high schools at involved? We could do that in every one of our communities to get involved. That's the example that we want to put out there as far as the Bills Hill community. Get involved into your community area. Whatever's going on, get involved. And it will clean up your community. Don't do it as a competing, college is doing this over here. Well, we got to do it better than that. No, just start. Just start in your community. Have something going on in your park. Yeah, all of it is a DJ out in the park for a Saturday. That's better than nothing. That keeps the kids out from, breaking into somebody else's house. If it's a study night for the kids, where the retired school teachers come in and have a study night, that's what we need. That's what we have over there. We have an open computer room for the people in the community to where they can do it. Get involved, folks. Get your doors opened up. You have a lot of accesses in your community. You have your shelters over there, your community centers. Get involved with it. Take part.
This is a call to action.
A call to action.
And I'm your host, Alex Habersham, interviewing mayoral candidate David Cousino, also known as DC. Why don't you just take a couple of minutes to do your exit statement and just wrap up this interview. Thank you very much for coming to say to the community anything about yourself or your projects or your programs or your platform or just whatever you want to put out there for the community.
My main platform, I've always started out, in God I trust, and faith I serve. What else does a man ever need to have? When you have the faith and the trust, and you walk out in that faith and the trust, and you go out in the community, it's a sword. And you can walk it. It's a shield. It's that full body armor. There's nothing else that a man ever needs to have. You don't need the money. You don't need the resources. You need the people to take action as you're calling forth to do. Get out, get involved. That's what I'm all about. Don't pad my pocket. Pad your own pocket. Utilize your money to make it grow. And I'll help you to utilize your own money to make it grow. Don't put it into me. I'll show you how to invest it. And that's by keeping your own to invest. Trust in the one that created each and every one of us. If you're an atheist or anything else, trust in whatever you believe in and work as hard as you can. If it's money, get all the money you can. Work so hard to get that money if that's your God. But when you know the true creator, you're going to be working for the best of all mankind and not for yourself. And that's what my goal is to work for mankind, to better our mankind, to better our community. And that's my total goal. And to help each individual out to pick themselves up instead of kicking them back down into the streets as a drunkard or lazy or anything else. Churches have got to wake up. Quit building sanctuaries and build the sanctuary.
This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham. I appreciate DC, better known as mayoral candidate David Cousino, for coming in to having this interview. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham. Have a great day.
Thank you.
www.makingblackpages.com